I was totally betrayed. Even if up to now I still feel like I was totally betrayed because the sons of Mr. Kabuka and all the daughters, they were my relatives. So I was totally betrayed. And I can't forget it in my mind. Only that you can put on a smile when I meet them, but in my heart, I was totally betrayed.
Once upon a time, there was a man named Segawa. He was entrusted with the care of several children who had been orphaned by HIV/AIDS.
Our program started in 2000. The program started to support orphans due to HIV/AIDS and those children who are affected by wars. It is very hard to get support. Our children are discriminated because they have HIV/AIDS backgrounds.
Knowing he couldn't care for them on his own, he knew he needed to build them a school. So he went out into the community to look for land for this new school that he was going to build. But his uncle, who had raised him like a father, his name was Musei Kabuka, and he said, "Why buy land you can't afford? Use my garage as your school. We'll have it right here." And so, Nansana Community Primary School was born.
We give them education because it's what they need to change the world.
Over the years, with the help of individuals and organizations from around the world, Nansana Community Primary School grew to serve hundreds and hundreds of orphans. Segawa became known throughout the community as Uncle Segawa, the man that you go to when you're in trouble and you need help. And his uncle, Musei Kabuka, became Jaja, or grandfather, to all of the children who attended the school. Years passed. The Christian drama school came and helped Segawa buy land and build a secondary school called Extreme High School in another village. They still sponsor students today through Heart for People.
And now we are having almost 800 orphans and vulnerable children here in Uganda.
Heart for People and Christian Drama School have created a lasting impact on both the primary school and Extreme High School. We have built classrooms, roofed classrooms, paid teacher salaries, paid for medical fees for students, and bought a huge tract of farmland that feeds both the primary school and the high school. There were still problems. There's always too much need and not enough support. But this project had grown into an amazing force for good. But there was a problem, a rumbling underground problem that poked its head up every once in a while, but never really registered for what it was. See, Kabuka had children, 13 children. I know some of them. One worked at the primary school, another was a professional car driver. He used to drive around Heart for People representatives all the time. His name is Sam. Another is a friendly face in the neighborhood. He has a daughter, Segawa's daughter's age, and they were really close. But these children, especially Sam, were jealous of Segawa. They thought somehow he was making money off of the school. And they thought, why is he getting rich off of our father's land? We deserve that money. But the thing is, if you don't charge tuition to your students, there's no way your school is ever going to make money. In 2018, government officials came to the school and told Segawa that there were two problems happening at Nansana Community Primary School. The first was that Kabuka could no longer live on the school compound where the school is. His house needed to be completely separate from the school. The second problem was that the nursery school section, the baby classes, they couldn't be connected to the primary school section. They needed to be separate in a separate building. So Segawa came up with a solution, and Kabuka agreed to it. Segawa would build Kabuka a big house out near Extreme High School. It's a quiet, remote village where Kabuka and his wife could live in peace. And then Segawa would turn that house where Kabuka lives into the nursery school section. Problem solved. But Sam didn't like that at all. He saw his inheritance threatened. So he rallied all of his siblings and convinced them that Segawa was kicking off their father and stealing the land that should rightfully belong to them. He said, "Why is Segawa making money off this land and getting rid of our father? We deserve that money now." So he and his siblings convinced Kabuka to kick out Segawa, to expel him from the school.
I have lived with Mr. Kabuka for a very long time. So I was part of the family, not just a person who was outside, but inside the family.
There were meetings that turned into a court battle with Segawa fighting to keep the rights to his school. He lost about 50 pounds from stress, and if you know Segawa, you know he can't afford that.
My clothes could not fit me again because I was psychologically tortured. But I felt very badly because this is not what we expected.
The final straw came when Segawa found out that Sam was threatening the life of his 4-year-old son, Nevin.
They were planning to kill him as a tool to send me away.
At that point, Segawa said, "Okay, keep the school. It's not worth the life of my son."
Yeah, this has been the hardest thing I think I have faced in this world. And being that he was like my father, I couldn't believe that he can chase me out of the project like that without anything. So it was a terrible situation for me.
The real problem is that Sam and his siblings only wanted students who could afford the tuition, the wealthy students. So they chased away everyone who couldn't pay. They didn't want the vulnerable, the orphaned, and definitely not the Sudanese refugees who walked for miles and miles to get here to Segawa. So right now, Segawa is paying for around 25 students to attend school, and there's at least another 20 who aren't attending school at all.
And many children who are orphans who are studying in that school, they scattered around the community. And many of them are not studying at this time. And also we have very many children whom we cannot afford to pay, and they are now living in the community without any education. So it is a very hard time for those children, and you cannot let them stay when they are not educated.
Even though Segawa pays for the tuition for these children, they're still horribly mistreated at this school. They're called orphan and poor and pointed out among all the other children as being the ones who can't afford school.
They don't like the children who are orphans. They don't like them in their schools. They don't also like the children who were studying in that school before.
There are so many orphans and vulnerable children who are left without hope, who are suffering right now. At this point, I think most people would have given up. They would have considered this the end. Stabbed in the back by his own family, I think a little part of Segawa did consider that, did wonder if any of this would ever make sense.
I was totally betrayed. Only that you can put on a smile when I meet them, but in my heart, I was totally betrayed.
But Segawa isn't most people, and he and Heart for People cannot and will not abandon Rachel, Esther, Betty, the Sudanese, and all of the children who need us. This was perhaps the hardest and most challenging obstacle that Segawa has ever faced. But every obstacle, even this one, is also an opportunity. With help from Heart for People, Segawa found and purchased a new piece of land. It's still in Nansana, but far from the heartbreak of the old school. This is a beautiful piece of land. It has fresh, clean running water and a breeze that just blows off the hill. This is the start of something amazing, something new. Welcome to Extreme Junior School.